Hey, all you pussycats, welcome to Messages from an Angel. It's Halloween, and I am being a hippie this week if you haven't noticed, and we are going to have a lot of fun. Today, our show is all about the origins of Halloween. Today is all about everything witchy, and we are going to have a really good time. And it's a call-in day, 647-931. 4701. It's right behind me, people. You think I'd remember it by now, hey, Anisha? So it's 647-931-4701 for your free psychic reading with me, with Angel. So call in, or you can actually comment on your Facebook and your Twitter and your YouTube, and we'll get it, and we can answer your questions like that as well. So we can do call in, or you can comment. Either way, we're going to get them, and we're going to see them, and we're going to answer them. So come right back after these messages.
Inside my house, what the fuck? We could move nothing. I lost everything up. Clothes, I get to take out nothing, just a few pieces.
Hi, everybody. Shoot, it didn't work. Hi, everybody. We're back with Messages from an Angel. Everybody's getting in on the costume thing, even my mug, my TCN mug, look. And if you really look closely, this is like a really freaky pair of sunglasses that I bought. It's really, really neat. I love the little costume things. Halloween is my favorite time of year. Always has been, ever since I was a little kid. I've always been into monsters and ghouls and ghosts and all that kind of thing. Funny enough, like I've always said, witches and psychics were the tackiest thing on my list. It was like, oh, come on, really? Seriously? And then when I started getting into cultural and historical studies, when I was in college and university, I started to realize the significance of Halloween and the significance of paganism and witchcraft on our society. It's really amazing, actually. And Halloween actually came from the pagan holiday of Samhain or Samhain. And it is a Celtic tradition. It is spelled Samhain, and it comes from 8 celebrations of the pagans. And they celebrate the different equinoxes. And this Samhain actually means summer's end. And what it is people would they would go out and they would have costumes and things like that to keep away all the evil spirits and allow the harvest to come. And they were trying to encourage the light not to leave, and all of these different kinds of traditions that they had. What was really interesting was Christianity wanted to convert a lot of people. And that's the way, that's the way many religions are, many cultures are. And so they wanted to do their conversions. And how they did that was they tried to find a celebration that was as close to Halloween or to Samhain as they possibly could. And so that became All Souls Day or All Saints Day. And that was November 2nd. And on November 2nd, we celebrate in Christianity and Catholicism, because I was raised Catholic, All Saints Day. And my mom would go to church, and we'd all go to church, and that was a big thing for us. And we celebrated Halloween as well as children. But the only reason we celebrate Halloween is because when the Europeans came to America, they brought their traditions with them. And in Europe, especially in France and that kind of stuff, what would happen is they would celebrate certain saints and certain deaths and certain things in Christianity. In fact, they were called the Seven Brethren. And they would celebrate the Seven Brethren on November 2nd, and the closest to it, by putting on these like really grisly costumes and really grotesques. And right now, what we call them in today's day and age, we call them the costumes of the grotesque. So when we see like Freddy Krueger and all the monsters and all the really gross stuff, those are the grotesques. And that's actually where that came from, because the Samhain celebrations actually were more animals, and they were the skins of animals to encourage, to keep away the bad stuff, but also to encourage the harvest, to encourage the sunlight. So it's a very interesting concept and juxtaposition, where the pagans were kind of trying to encourage the Christianity, wanted to keep all the evil stuff away, so they celebrated the grotesques to keep the demons and the horrible things at bay. So one of the things that happened when this was going on was witches have always been something throughout history that people were interested in. These women, oh look, we have a visitor. Hi, hello, what's your name? We're going to call you Ghosty. Hi Ghosty, how are you? And I think we're going to have a few visitors. And don't forget, today is a call-in day, so 647-931-4701, and maybe Ghosty will help me with some of our readings today. This is so cool. Anisha, I love you. Have I told you I love you today? This is so cool. So witches, what would happen is in the European age, so in the 1600s when the witch trials were happening, which that's when the bulk of it was between 1683 and 1694, when all of this was happening in Europe and the United States. In fact, in the United States, in Salem, with the Salem witch trials, which is very famous, 20 people were executed and 2 dogs, apparently. And they were all executed for witchcraft. And in Europe, over the hundreds of years that it actually happened, witch burnings and witch trials were very common, but the big trials, the huge ones, were from 1683 to 1693. And that's when it really became famous. But these things have been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years, and thousands of people were actually killed and executed. And what's really funny is we believe that the burning times were all about witches who were burned, and that's a very famous mythology. What's really funny, though, is most witches were actually hung. They were not burned. That was more of a French thing. The French thing, they like the gruesome stuff, like the guillotine and the burnings and that kind of stuff. But throughout Europe and even in the United States, if you weren't to renounce Satan, because the witches were all about, in their minds, and when they were prosecuted, making out with Satan and giving to Satan in so many different ways. And if you didn't renounce Satan, if you confessed that you were a witch and you renounced it, then you could keep from being hung. But what was really funny, and I was reading about this just recently, and these are little things that people don't know, is it was actually quite expensive to not be hung. Because if you weren't hung, you actually had to pay for the trial. You had to pay for the expenses that were put out to make you innocent, because really you weren't. You were just confessing to something they believed. So the people who were prosecuted actually had most times had their homes taken from them. And there was a gentleman named, I believe it was something Corey, Gil Corey or something like that. You can find him on the internet, who was actually part of the Salem witch trials. And he was crushed by a stone. Like, where do people come up with this stuff? Like, even the tests that they use to see if you're a witch, I don't know, man. It's like, if you didn't drown, they would dunk you in water in these huge mechanisms, and they would put you in the water. And if you didn't drown, you weren't a witch. Or I think it was, if you didn't drown, you were a witch. That's what it was. If you didn't drown, you were a witch. If you drowned, you were innocent. Well, that's it, right? Like, I'm sorry, but how does that work? But it's like, if you're a witch, you didn't drown because you had supernatural powers that would allow you to survive, you know? And so then you'd have to renounce being a witch and lose all your property, lose everything. But what was really funny is a lot of this came from petty arguments, neighbor against neighbor. Somebody coveted somebody's wife, somebody who was jealous of somebody's sheep or crop or whatever the case might be. But the Salem witch trials were unique because it was based around one particular family called the Putnams. And the Putnams, I believe it was the Putnams, and the Putnams, he was a very, very well-known doctor, Thomas Putnam, and it was real duly noted that a lot of the people who were prosecuted were actually people that he didn't like. And his daughter feigned being able to be a psychic, funny enough, and she could tell when people were. And there were great movies. There's a wonderful movie with Liam Neeson about the Salem witch trials. Can you do me a favor? Can you check up on that? I don't know if you have the ability to do that while I'm on the air. But can you check up on that? There's a great movie with Liam Neeson, and it's actually, there are books on it too. And I think that movie was based on a book. I meant to check that out before the show, and I forgot to. But and I actually read it when I was in high school because it was one of those mandatory books that you have to read, and it was really great. But the whole concept was about how people were actually going against people. And if you had somebody, and even this whole idea, a lot of people, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people were saying that midwives were the ones who were really focused on at that time. And anybody who really knows the histories knows that they were to a certain degree because there was a lot of jealousy between doctors and midwives and doulas. But the reality was that unless you really upset someone in the community, you weren't going to be prosecuted. But it came to a point where it was very easy to prosecute people. And where it come to midwives and doulas and things like that, at that time, you have to understand the 1600s, a lot of people were I was going to say self-medicating, were actually had their own ways of treating things with their families. So they knew the herbals, they knew how to put poultices together and how to take care of a broken arm or broken leg or illnesses. And yes, doctors were utilized, but a lot of stuff was done at home. So unless you really made enemies with somebody of the state, somebody in the medical community, or somebody in religion, in a religious position, you probably weren't going to be looked at as a witch. Now, again, this was a big money maker. So the reality is again, if you were prosecuted, you had to pay for the things that for the actual trials, for the actual prosecutions. There are some really great articles on that. If you go on my Facebook, on Raising Energy Facebook or my personal Facebook, I actually found somebody who wrote about this, and I really loved how he wrote about the history. It's incredible, and he's from the Houston Press. So there is an article there that actually outlines what I'm talking about right now and what a lot of people understand. Now, midwives were considered a threat. Please do understand that, because they were women, number one, and number two, because the medical community was based in men, and they were based in more allopathic medicines rather than holistic or natural medicine. So they were considered a threat. So they were on the chopping block. Now, a lot of people have asked me this question too, is when did the witch trial stop? And this guy actually writes about this too. I love him. This is a beautiful article. It was well researched. And one of the things they talk about was there was a gentleman in the States at the time of the witch trials, and he was actually one of the people who was prosecuting. And what I found really interesting was that when his wife was what's the word I'm looking for? was indicted, or she was accused, thank you, there's the word I'm looking for, when she was accused of being a witch, she went, enough, we're done with this. So it took someone of state to have it turned against for all of this to stop. So it's a really interesting, but understand that the Salem witch trials was only a microcosm of a macrocosm. Maggie, happy Halloween. Thank you for writing in. You can write in questions if you have them. Please feel free to call 647-931-4701. So we're talking today about Halloween and where it actually originated. And I wanted to deal with the witches too, because that's actually very integrated in our histories with Halloween. Because we see a lot of kids and wearing the witches' masks and that kind of stuff, and we're going to come back and talk more about this after our break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Messages from an Angel. Oh, look, we have bat visitors. We infested with bats. As an animal communicator, I welcome you. Look at them. They're all creepy. I wonder if one of them is a vampire bat. Oh, my God. Oh, ah. No, I'm joking. Anyway, I know I'm a little batty myself. Can you tell the full moon is around this Halloween? That's crazy. Okay, so here's the deal. When it gets rather somber, actually, because when the witch trials were happening and when these women were accused, and the majority of them were women, there were some men, like we said, the most famous one was the man who was actually crushed, and the reason he was because he decided that he wasn't going to give in to this, he wasn't going to renounce it, and he wanted to leave something for his family. He didn't want to give up his home. He didn't want to give up the things that he had, that he knew that he could give them. And so they decided they were going to punish him and make an example of him. Now, in that time, when these trials, these horrific crimes were happening, because that is really what they were, no matter how you cut it, no matter what kind of tales they give us. These people were prosecuted and they were kept in cells and dungeons, and they were treated very poorly. They were beat up. And they didn't bathe, they didn't eat. So the people that went into the cells, into these dungeons and into these places came out completely different. You know, they were prisoners, so to speak. And sometimes it would take months and months and months for a trial to come to pass. And what's really, really interesting about all of that is that a lot of these people actually died in the cells and in the dungeons. They didn't even get to the hanging posts. So what's really interesting about this is when these women especially would come out, they'd put them in these wagons and their hands would be tied and they'd be all bruised and they would be, you know, their hair would look like straw because they were unbathed and unwashed for so long. They'd be emaciated. They hadn't eaten and they were ill and they had lice and they had all of these things, and their noses were broken and they had bruises on their faces and their bodies. And this is not a pleasant thing to see, but what would happen is that people would tease them, and children would go around and they would make masks that looked like these people, and hence they were witches. So this is where the ugly witch mask came from, and that's really kind of one of the things I try to let people know, that when you're actually letting a child or you yourself are doing that whole green face, broken nose, crooked nose with the dimple, with the straw hair. This is actually what you are depicting. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so this is kind of, I know, it's really creepy, isn't it? But this is actually what these masks represent. So for me, when I do the whole witchy thing, which I do at Halloween because I absolutely love them now. I think they're wonderful. Thank you, Samantha Stevens. Anisha, are you too young to know who that is? Oh, get out of town. Bewitched. You would know the Will Ferrell movie is what you would know. So the Will Ferrell movie Bewitched is actually based on a television show from the 60s and 70s, I think more the 70s. And Samantha Stevens fell in love with a human. And so she was a witch. She was a stay-at-home mom who wasn't allowed to use magic in her home. So she would use magic when her husband wasn't there for little things or what have you. And then eventually she had a little girl, and her little girl was a witch as well. She ended up having mystical powers as well, so they had to hide themselves. But it's a very telling tale because this is really what history has been about, right? It's been about hiding those mystical powers, hiding those mystical knowledges. And it really represents our own fear of what we have energetically, of who we are. So whether or not, oh, this is very interesting. Erica Edwards, witches are the only females who are presented as being powerful outside of males. Actually, this is somewhat true. They're also goddesses. Goddesses are represented as equal to males in many of the different cultures. But Erica, that's a very, very good point. So, and thank you for watching the show, Erica. She's one of our hosts. She's so cool. It's not even funny. I love her. In fact, Erica, I am officially inviting you onto my show one day. You have to be a guest. So that's that. I'll talk to you. We'll talk. Your people will talk to my people. So I'm having way too much fun on this show. So where it comes to the witches, they were always looked upon as the deviants. And that's really interesting that Erica brought that up, because then on the other side, we have the goddesses. And there's this whole thing in religion about the Madonna and the saint and the sinner, the saint and the whore, all the Madonna and the whore. That's what it is, the Madonna and the whore. And if you look at the goddess and the witch, that is kind of a prime example of that juxtaposition in how females are looked on historically, in spirit and that kind of thing. And I love that, because we get to look at both sides of how we look at women, and yet they're so very powerful. You have one that is so primal and one that is so heaven-based. So again, there's that juxtaposition, and there's that evenness. So it's funny that I'm doing the hippie today, now that I think of it, because it's all about the yin and yang and the peace and the love and all that kind of stuff. So again, getting back to Samantha Stevens, I love her because she represents how beautiful a witch can be and the youthfulness of a witch. And as a psychic and as an energy worker, we know that when energy runs through us and flows through us, we are young. We're young forever. And, you look at some energy workers who are in their 70s. Like, look at Marley Joy, who we had on last week. She looked phenomenal, and she is an older woman. That's awesome. Erica just accepted. Yay, I can't wait. So, people, you got to look out for that particular show, because that's going to be totally dynamic. So when we look at women and witches who are beautiful, even if you see the vintage witches. Can you pull up for me vintage witches, witch on broom, something like that? If you can find a picture, that'd be fabulous. If you can't, that's okay. But I love the vintage pictures, and I'm going to be Instagramming that on @RaisingEnergy, and maybe I'll throw a couple on TCN as well after the show, because I have a lot of that kind of stuff. I love my vintage pictures. I love my vintage stuff. So if you want a way to my heart, Angel Morgan, that's the way it is. Vintage pinup stuff for women is just so classy, so beautiful. But the witches are really great because they're looked at as young and beautiful and powerful and in their prime. So this concept from the 60s on started to shift and change. It wasn't necessarily about the ugly old hags that we are accustomed to. Now we're starting to shift that, and she's becoming sexier. She's becoming powerful, because in the 60s, that's a beautiful vintage poster. Yeah, that one is from I'd probably say 1920s. That's when that kind of vintage picture was taken at Halloween and that kind of stuff. But these are actually vintage pinup witch. That's the subject or that you want to look for. So these pictures are so incredible. But yeah, in the 1920s, this is when the whole witchcraft thing, the whole witch trials thing, that kind of started to go into the background, okay? So I'm glad you brought up that picture. In the 1960s, though, we started to become independent as women. We became the hippies. Oh, yeah, the hippies. So when the hippie movement came out, women started to see themselves as beautiful and strong and powerful, and they started to look at witchcraft and this kind of power as something that comes from us. Yes! Oh my God, that's perfect. So we get a lot of these kinds of pictures in the probably the 1940s. This is where we start to look at women because we've got the war, right? So in Halloween, we want to make sure that the guys are stimulated and their vitality is up, and we want to make sure they feel good. So all the pinups started coming out. And when these pinups came out in Halloween, this is the kind of stuff we started seeing. And this was really cool. So then in the 60s, we as women started taking on our true power. And this is when you kind of got the Birkenstock witches. These ones who were very primal, who started earth witchery and that, or started to bring it forward. This is when a man named Gerald Gardner brought witchcraft forward. He didn't invent witchcraft and he didn't create anything new. What he did was he reintroduced really heavily witchcraft of the old times, of the old ways. So the Dianic ways and the Odyssean ways, so the Greek ways and the Roman ways and the Celtic ways. And all of these, he started creating these little covens. But unfortunately, we since found out that he also did this for his own means and gains because he liked his women. He really did. But those who were very prominent and very powerful in this. Hello, Ashley, how are you? Those women who are very, very serious about it took that on as their own, and they created their own covens. And a coven is made up of 13 people. I believe it's 13 and then the priest or high priestess, or it's 13 including the high priest or priestess. I can't remember. If somebody can correct me or validate that for me, please do. And they celebrate 8 particular seasons. So witches are very earth-based. They're pagan, and all pagan means is country dweller, someone who lives in the country. So witches were always on the outskirts of town. They were a sect of people that weren't very accepted in life. And even today, we kind of look at that and we go, yeah, whatever, like that really exists. It's a label like any other label, because if you look at Manifestation 101, it's the same thing a witch does in ritual. If you look at feng shui and some of their ceremonies, they're actually quite likened to ceremonies that are done with witchcraft. So I find it a very beautiful nature-oriented sect. But like with anything, with any culture, you know, in Europe, in Italy, and in Malta, we have a saying, the hand that harms can also heal. The hand that heals can also harm. Like anything, that is in the hands of the particular practitioner. And being a psychic, I know many different types of energy workers, and they're all incredible. One of the things I really love about witches, especially hedge witches, because there are different types. There's the green witch who only works with earth stuff. There's the hedge witch who works with everything old tradition. There is the Odyssean witch who is very specifically about the Greeks, the Dianic witch who is very about Diana and worships her. These sects still exist, and all of them are about healing. I love the hedge witches in particular, just simply because these particular women still practice the old ways of healing. So they create poultices. I'm sorry, but I had oak poisoning, and it was very bad. It was terrible. And I went to the hospital, and they gave me steroids. And I had to go back 3 times, and nothing was helping. Like, it was really, really, really bad. And I went to an elder that I knew who also practiced herbalism, a little bit of hedge witchery, and she was native. She also had some native Aboriginal background. And she gave me a poultice, ladies and gentlemen. I swear to God, I actually wrote about this. It's one of the articles that I wrote. It's on my LinkedIn site for Angel Morgan. It's there, but I will also post it on mypsychiclifestyle.com. I will post that because it's a very important journey. And what's really interesting about it was that when I used this poultice and I placed it on my leg, I did it for 2 weeks, gone. Within the first 4 days, the irritation, the burning, the itching, it all went away. Then it was about the mark that it left. And she warned me, she said, just because it goes away doesn't mean you're not going to re-experience it over your lifetime. It may not come back full blown, but you might get itchy, you might do this. doctors on the allopathic end never told me that. Now, that's not to say that the allopathic medicines are not to be respected and revered. I completely believe in them, okay? If you break your leg, if you need an x-ray, there are a lot of things at the allopathic, but I believe they work hand in hand. So for me, until it gets to a certain point, I go to my natural medicines, and then I go to allopathic medicines. Or in this particular case, I went to the allopathic medicine, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to go to my natural healers. And it worked, and it was amazing. And to this day, she taught me how to do it. And I worked with her for 9 years, and she taught me so much, this particular woman. And I bless her name every single day, and she's so amazing. Erica, would you say shows like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie made it more mainstream? Absolutely. Not only more mainstream, but they made it more acceptable. It was out there as a television show for people to be entertained, but then when women were coming out at that time to say, hey, listen, you know what, this is something I want to explore, all of a sudden it was somewhat acceptable. I remember a friend of mine who is well into her 70s now, and she said when Bewitched came out, I could turn around and say, yeah, I'm actually studying all about witchcraft. They're like, oh my God, that's really cool. You're like Samantha Stevens. So all of a sudden it became safe. It made it safe. I think that's a good word. Now, what's really cool is my son and I went to Niagara Falls one year when he was younger. And we were in the Wax Museum, the Movie Hall of Fame, and they have a section for television shows. And my son said to me, and he goes, Mommy, who's that? And I Dream of Jeannie, funny enough, was one of the characters he really pinned. I mean, he had it hard for that chick. And I can't even remember her name, and she's one of my favorite actresses. But she, and then he walked along and he saw Samantha Stevens. He goes, Mommy, who's she? And I said, well, this is who she is. And I kind of explained it for his age. He was about 8 when we were there. And we go home to the hotel because we were there for the weekend. And what is on TV? Of course, because of the Wax Museum, they have all the Munsters and Bewitched. He was obsessed. The rest of the afternoon, and any chance he got to watch Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, and Lassie. Those were his 3. He just ate it all. And to this day, he still has a crush on Jeannie. I swear to God. So Erica, thanks for bringing that one up. It's a really beautiful culture that we come from. We have native Aboriginal traditions. We have witchcraft, we have feng shui, we have all of these different things. And at Halloween, it's a very interesting thing because the walls of the world, the two worlds grow thin. And this is what the Irish believe. At this time of year, now we can connect with our ancestors. And we're going to be right back to talk about that. Hi, and we're back on our Halloween messages from an angel. Have we had a spider visitor today? Have we? Oh, did I miss the spider? Oh, I'm so hi, Mr. Spider. You know, I have a spider at home. Everybody knows that. Phoebe, she's so beautiful. That this would be like, we should have brought her on the show today. Darn it to heck and back. So when we left our last segment, we were talking about what Halloween is and how the walls of the two worlds grow thin. And at this time, you'll find a lot of people will do what we call rituals for themselves at home, and pagans will get together. This is a high time for them because Samhain is their new year. Right? So we have New Year on January 31st in the more Gregorian calendars, but in Samhain and Samhain, it's this time of year. So they're celebrating their New Year, and how they do that is they call in their ancestors. They'll create a beautiful circle, and I actually went to a ceremony once. I was invited to a ceremony once. It was amazing. And they created two circles. One circle where we are and one circle in their world, the ancestors' world. And they created this beautiful bridge, and we went over, and on this beautiful table, they had pictures of all the ancestors that we wanted to call in. And what was really nice is in that moment, you feel connected. They call their spirits in, and they call the grandfathers and the grandmothers and the uncles and the aunts and the animals that they want to connect to. And they get to talk to them for a while, and they get to visit. And on November 1st, which is next week, we actually have a very special visitor on because it will be the Day of the Dead, La Fiesta del Muerte. And the Mexicans and Spanish will do this on November 1st. And personally, that's what I celebrate. And you can celebrate this on Halloween, or you can celebrate this on La Muerte. But what people will do too on Halloween night is they will set their table for dinner, and they'll make a big feast of it. And they'll put a candle in the middle of the table. And on one side, you put your plates, and on the other side, you put what we call spirit plates. And I talk about this actually on my Instagram, so you can take a look at that. It's at Raising Energy for my Instagram, and at my TCN TV. I'll probably tag you on that one if that's okay, Anisha. And this is called the spirit dinner, or some people call it the dumb dinner, but I'll tell you why. So they put a candle in the middle of the table, separates the two worlds. And on one side, you put spirit plates. So 2 or 3 people that you want to call in, that you want to invite to your table. So a grandmother, grandfather, mother, father, that kind of thing. And what you do is you set a plate of their favorite foods. And you have your dinner, and you think about them, and you talk about them, and you might even feel them come in the room. One of the things that I do is just before dinner, I'll put a candle by the window, and I'll invite them in. I'll actually say, you know what, I'm calling in my uncle this year, or I'm calling in, my grandfather this year, or, Carl's mom, or whoever that would want to invite that year. And we make this table, and it's just a beautiful time of memories. It's a beautiful time of getting together and remembering these people. And in Mexico, they have this, there's a great movie called Coco. And it's a wonderful film. It's a new film. Go and check it out because it talks about what they do on La Fiesta del Muerte. And there's also the Book of Life, which is another really good one. Both cartoons, mine too. Both great cartoons, ladies and gentlemen. And in Coco, the boy goes to a place where those are remembered, but they also have a place where those are forgotten, the land of the forgotten, the land of the remembered. So they have pictures, and this is one of the reasons they do this on November 1st, is to make sure that people are remembered, because when they pass, they want to be remembered too, in Italy, familia, but family is so important to the Mexicans and to so many cultures. So this year, this is one of the ways just to say thank you and to remember. At weddings, a lot of Europeans will do this. Native Aboriginals will do this in ceremony too. They'll put out the spirit plates for the ancestors. So this isn't specifically for the pagan culture or the Mexican culture. They all cross over. So this is where my interest lies. This is what drives me insanely crazy in love with history and culture, is the fact that how do you have all these different cultures from all these different places, and they all connect. They all have similar rituals. They all have these similar traditions. Like, how does that happen if you don't even know each other from your border to border, across the oceans, across the seas? And yet you do similar things. The Native Aboriginals have the spirit plate. The pagans have the spirit plate. The Italians and the Maltese, we have the spirit plate. We do them at weddings, actually. We love that. We put a little chair. We do chairs, and we dress the chairs up so that the grandfathers, grandmothers, mothers, and fathers can be there. And I love doing that. And then after your ceremony, what you do is you put out the candles, and you take those plates and you put them outside for the animals, and you let the animals take that. I put it in a forest or something like that. I have a family of raccoons that I live with in our community, and every once in a while I tell them that I'm going to offer them something as long as they don't come to my house. So this is my favorite time of year because I will put out a whole feast for them, and I love them. And I do that in the forest where they live because I know where we all know where they live. We love them. And so this is something that Halloween is also about. It's about connecting because the walls are so thin now. This is a good time to have a psychic reading. This is a good time to do ceremonies where the dead are concerned. This is a good time to really sit and get out those photo albums, even if you don't sit in a dinner informally, and just remember those who've crossed over, because when you remember, you keep their spirits alive, and that is so vitally important. And what I like about the craft too is that, or the paganism too, is that so many cultures do derive actually from that culture. They have 8 ceremonies, and they are, let me see if I can remember them: Litha, Lammas, Mabon, Samhain, Yule, Frigga. No, that's not one of them. Shoot, there are 3 more, and I can't remember. But I was smart. I did actually bring them up here. And here we go: Samhain, Yule, Imbolc, Ostera, Beltane, Midsummer. I don't know how I forgot that one. Lammas and Mabon. And each of them fall on an equinox. So each of them are connected to a harvest. So Yule came before Christmas. And at Yule, this was when the 2 gods fight. They have the god of the summer and the god of the winter, the summer of the light and the one of the dark. So you have if I remember correctly, the summer god now at the winter solstice, he grows old, and he grows frail and fragile. And the winter god comes in, who is young and vibrant, and he fights him for his place. So he fights him, he takes the throne. Now he's young and he's vital, and now he can bring the sun, and he can bring all of this stuff. And now, as of December 21st, the days are going to start to get longer and longer and longer until June 21st. And then on June 21st, now he's gotten old. And the summer god now has time to revitalize and come back. And now he is strong, and he is young, and he is powerful. And then that comes together again, and they fight for that position. And now the summer god comes in, and he brings us the harvests and all those different things. And I love these mythologies. And mythologies for me are so important because they're the stories of our history. They're the things that keep our history alive, because what would happen is people would need to personify what was happening to be able to tell or teach those coming generations. So when we look at all the gods and the goddesses, there are those who believe that they're a real manifestation that we as human beings have created because we needed them. And then there are those who believe that they're personifications of the harvest. So you have, someone like, there's one I'm really thinking of, but someone like Hathor, and she's the goddess of the grain. Isis, who is the goddess of babies, delivery, birth, all of those different things. So different cultures have different goddesses. And gods, by the way. So you have Thoth, and he is the god of inspiration and writing. And then you have the Nordic god Odin, who is the all god. Everybody knows Odin because of Thor, right? And he's actually one of the gods of inspiration, funny enough. Loki, the trickster. So all of these characters, some believe, were created and personified to teach others about certain things, whether it was personality traits, whether it was about the harvest. And we have also created them to talk about the seasons. So all of these different things that were created for those 2 types of people were personifications. However, then there is a third set of people. And at Halloween, it's important for them to sit with these energies, sit with these gods and these goddesses and these spirits, to call on their energy, to help them with their lives, to help them with who they are, to increase their abilities, to do whatever it is they need to do. And most people who are energy workers, witches or feng shui masters, they will go to these energies and they will say, help me with this healing, or help me with this. Now, there are other cultures as well, right? We have the Brazilian cultures of Santeria. We have the Voodoo cultures of Jamaica, Africa, all of these different places, Cuban. It's just amazing how many different esoteric cultures there are. And all of them have their or their gods or their goddesses or the saints. And it's amazing how when you go deeply into these cultures, they're all very similar. And even their times of year, they celebrate similar things. Whether it is All Saints Day on November 2nd, or the Fiesta de Muerte on November 1st, or the 31st, which is Halloween. And what's really cool too is then we have the Day of the Trickster, which comes before that. And we're going to talk about that in our last segment on Messages from an Angel.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Hi, and we're back, and we actually have our first caller at the end of our show. Hi, who am I talking to? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
My name's Alexis.
Hi, Alexis, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Thank you for joining us on our Halloween show. What can I do for you today?
I was looking for the name of my spirit guide.
Okay, the first thing that comes from me, actually, I thought it was a wolf. It's not, it's coyote. You have coyote behind you. So your medicine and who you are really is connected to helping people on a very deep level, on a subconscious level. He's one of your guides, and he actually, B-R-I, Bregan?
Bregan?
Yeah, something like Bregan or Bree. One of the things I would like you to do, because you're highly intuitive, is I want you to today, actually, because we're in a full moon right now, we're in the third day of a full moon, close your eyes and go, I've heard your name, I've heard part of your name. What is your name? Show me your name. But it's like Bregan, B-R-I-G-O-N. Yeah, and that's the coyote. And he's very prevalent in your life right now. I almost feel like you're looking for direction right now in your life. Are you not?
Oh, yes. I was actually going to ask you the other question with my immediate future.
Yeah, you know what? Your immediate future is about education, finding who you are so that you can follow your path now. And for you, I really feel like coyote medicine. I want you to go look up coyote medicine. What does it mean in the native Aboriginal tribes? He is the trickster. Funny enough, he is the trickster, which is what we're going to talk about. But he's someone who works with addiction, like addicts, social worker, people who are dysfunctional, who really need the deep help. And I feel like your energy can be very conducive to that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Also to you, I forgot to say today, guys, thank you for that call, Alexis. If you have a fun Halloween story, we have 10 minutes. Call in. Tell me your favorite Halloween story. Tell me about your favorite mischievous night, maybe when you were a high school student or what have you. But the reality is we have mischief night. And mischief night is the night when kids go around and egg windows and cars, which is a horrible thing, actually. Okay, we have another caller, ladies and gentlemen. Last 10 minutes of our show. Usually it's the first 10 minutes. Hi, how are you? What can I do for you today? Hello? Hi? No, we lost you? Okay, feel free to call back. So we're talking right now about mischief night. And look, the gods and the spirits are playing mischief with us. Ha, ha, ha. And mischief night is a great night, but this is a night where you want to make sure that you're... I love it. Thank you, Anisha. Look, they're dancing. It's a night of fun and mischief. And we have another caller. Hello, who am I speaking with?
Hello.
Hi, who am I speaking with today?
Shoshana.
Hi, Shoshana. Hi. What can I do for you?
I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about traveling. Do you see anything when it comes to traveling soon?
I do, in fact. I see, I don't know why, perhaps I'm right off on this, but the first thing I saw for you was like somewhere like Trinidad. And I feel like there is a trip coming for you, but it's more next year, not this year. Okay. Where are you thinking of going?
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Okay, yeah, so it's the islands. But for some reason, I keep getting a draw to Trinidad for you, and I don't know why. There's something there for you, and they're saying if you don't take a trip there, I want you to explore the energies of Trinidad because there's a connection to you, and I don't know what it is. It could be a past life thing, but Trinidad just keeps coming up and up and up. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you. But next year, not this year. But more like early next year. We're talking February, March.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That's the better time to do. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's really strong with her. I can feel island spirits around her. Like it's not just Jamaica. Like it's funny because I keep getting drawn with her to Trinidad. Okay, I'm going to disconnect from that one. And we're going to keep talking about how much fun we have on Halloween. So Mischief Night is a night you want to keep your cars inside. Anybody have a story about their mischief night and what they've done when they were younger, what they've experienced with ghosts and this particular thing? Please let us know. I remember one Halloween when I was younger, my cousins, they were calling people into the basement and they kept going, come on. And I was stupid, right? I was young. And I went in and they had like ketchup and mustard and all that kind of stuff. And they were dousing everybody with that. And I didn't know. And so I got doused really good. It was horrible, but that was a mischief. My family was notorious for that. So Mischief Night is the night of the trickster. So the night of the trickster is when all the, hello Ghosty, when all the tricksters would come out. So these are people like Loki and that kind of stuff. So if bad things were going to happen, or if you were a bad person, say, or you did bad things, this was the night when you were going to have the most nightmares. This was the night when, you're going to feel tapping on the shoulder. This was the night when if someone's going to pinch your bum while you're walking, this was the night that it was going to happen. And in our culture, in the Maltese culture, this was the night when a lot of people stayed inside. We don't go out. Because a lot of stuff happens. And unfortunately, we don't, fortunately, we don't see a lot of that happening. But now when we do see it, it's like to a major extreme. Was when I was a kid, it wasn't that bad, right? So Halloween is a really fun time of year, but it's also a very meaningful time of year because it's about the harvest. It's about the summer's end, Samhain. It's about that time when we do the last reaping, when we bring in the pumpkins and we bring in the crops and we're getting ready to turn everything down. But it's also turned down for the winter, but it's also a time of introspection. And this is what I wanted to leave everybody with today. This time of year is a time to really go inside of yourself, really look over your year and see what's been going on, what things that you've experienced. This is the time for rest. From now until probably mid-November, this is the time when we get to sit back. And a lot of you probably been feeling that kind of, okay, I don't feel like doing anything. And the weather is part of that, right? Our weather is really a part of kind of shutting us down. We're starting to get ready to hibernate like the bear does. And this is the time when we can call in the ancestors to go, can you help me? Or what have you seen? Or are you on this journey with me? And I love this time of year, and doing readings at this time of year is a lot of fun for me. So again, we have a little bit of time, 647-931-4701 for your psychic reading. And we have so much fun at this year, so don't forget to get out. And if you want to know more about me, you can go to raisingenergy.com or mypsychiclifestyle.com. We're actually doing some renovations, so sorry about that. That's the god of noise. So mypsychiclifestyle.com, raisingenergy.com. You can go to at Raising Energy on Instagram or at MyTCNTV or mytcn.com. We have so many places that you can find this show and more about me. We have a caller. Hello, caller. How are you? You're going to have to speak up a little.
Yeah, hi, how are you doing today?
Hi, and what's your name?
My name is Faye.
Hi.
I to find out from me. Do you see me taking a trip?
I'm sorry. What's your question? Anisha, can you do me a favor? Can you maybe ask Trish to maybe keep that down till the show's over? Can you run out for me? That'd be awesome. Just give us 2 seconds. Hi. And I'm sorry, what's your name again? Katie?
Hey, F-A-Y.
Kate, say hi. Can you tell me what your question is again?
Yeah, I want to know if you see an early trip coming up for me.
Do I see a trip
Overseas.
coming up for you?
Yeah, a trip. Like a vacation.
Yep. I actually do. Yeah, for you, I see something coming up quite soon. I I like it. I see you laughing. Again, to the islands. I see family. I see friends around you.
Yeah.
I see family around you. I see it closer to, I want to say it's from now to December, but it's definitely by December. So it's a really beautiful trip. I want you to take this trip. You need to take this trip. You have to take this trip. You have to. Okay? Yeah, definitely take this trip. It's definitely coming. A lot of family. Now, we had somebody who was going to Jamaica before. I feel like it's in the islands. Are you planning a trip into the islands?
Yeah, the islands. Yeah, Jamaica.
Yep, Jamaica as well. See, then I feel like I'm imposing, right? Because I heard it from the other client. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm imposing it from that one, but that's what I saw. I saw the islands. I saw Jamaica as well. I saw the other client.
Hello?
So yes, this is good. Yes, so definitely go there. Okay? Thank you so much. All right, we have another caller. And what's your name?
Hi, Angel. It's Erica.
Hi, Erica. This is Erica. She's our other host. I'm so excited. What can I do for you today, lovely?
I actually just sent you a message saying, oh, it was too late to call in. I wanted to get a reading, and then I heard I have 10 more minutes, so hello.
Awesome. Give me your question, baby.
My question, well, tell me what you see. Tell me if you pick up anything. Tell me if you have any advice.
Funny. It's really funny you should say that, because I was posting today for my show, and I saw you come up. And the energy around you was all light. It was all gold. Like, you have a lot coming for your career. The expansion coming for you is huge. Next year is going to be a real year of travel for you, especially come April, somewhere around there, March, April. And there's going to be work attached to it. I would definitely take that. And then from there, I see it expanding. But it's all really nice at pace. Like right now, it feels like things are opening up and they feel really expansive, but I feel it's going really fast for you. Next year, around March, April, things are going to feel like they're slowing down, but it feels settled, and it feels like you're actually moving at more of your pace, and you can kind of go, okay, you know what? Now I feel like I'm in my body. Now I have my routine. This is the show I'm doing. This is the news. And I feel like journalism, there's something about journalism coming up for you too. Stories, okay?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Have you considered, I don't know if that's a course or there's something coming up for you. Have you considered something with journalism or writing that you've either signed up for or thinking of signing up for?
100%, yes.
Do it. You have to do it, because that's the key. That's the key.
Amazing.
Right there. Okay.
Well, Angel, I have to tell you, I've enjoyed your show so much today. I'm here at work, and I'm, listening in one earbud, and I've had a ball watching you. I love the black and white. I think it's so cool.
Isn't it great?
And the effects, Anisha, hi.
I know, Anisha's awesome, eh?
And we'll talk after, because I'd be so honored to be on your show, and I need you to be on mine, because people need to hear you.
I would be honored. I'd be honored. So yes, I will call you, or you call me. We'll message each other. My people will hook up with your people. My ghosts will hook up with your ghosts.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Bye. That's awesome. I love it that we support each other. At this station, it really is all about support. And I like that, because this is one of the nice things about a smaller station is we grow together. I mean, I have that at the bigger stations too. Like News Talk 1010 is amazing because we're like family. And I've been there for almost 4 years now, and we truly are. But this is really great because it's a whole different energy and a whole set. And yes, it is very celebratory. Our spirits and our skeletons are all working together. I don't know how much time do we have left. Are we out? We're out of, oh my God. Come back after these messages. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, but come back, all right?
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
luck. I want to sing Age of Aquarius, Age of Aquarius. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Messages from an Angel. Have a groovy day, everybody.